back to another Couch Potato General Manager video. In this video, Drew, I want to talk about Micah Parsons, man. I think he's having an excellent season. Certainly the front runner for rookie defensive player of the year. And he's in the conversation for NFL defensive player of the year as well. But what we wanted to focus on in this particular video was the utility of Micah Parsons. Obviously, he's lined up all over the formation. But the question is, and I'm going to pose it to you, Drew, I'm going to throw it to you. Is Dallas better off leveraging Micah Parsons' pass rushing, right, making him a full-time edge, full-time defensive end in an even man front, or playing him at the second level? How would you deploy him? He's so impactful as a pass rusher. Do you take 45 snaps on the edge, or do you got to get 65 snaps, having him bounce around and playing predominantly at the second level? What would you do?
He would be a part of my Lego defense. That's essentially what I would do. Move him around, being kind of the main cog to make things go.
I think they do that to a degree, right? The deployment in terms of odd and even man fronts may be a little bit different, although they play a little five down sometimes, right? They want to get DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, and Parsons going. But to your point, they're not so multiple that they go from an odd man front, a 3-4, 34 to a 43 to a 46. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But he's lined up all over the formation.
Yeah, I got to have a rushing the passer pretty much every play because now he's become your Myles Garrett. He's become your TJ Watt, where you have to essentially you got a game plan for him every week. You know what I mean? It's nice to drop him back in coverage and do a couple of different things every so often, but for the most part, I gotta have him rushing the passer. He's devastating, man. Like when we watch the tape, you know, him coming out of Penn State, what do we say, bro? We said we don't really want him at linebacker. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna take a little bit longer for him to kind of learn that position because he's an attacking player. That's what he wants to do. Come downhill, go get the football. See football, go get football. Right. And who touches the ball most of the time? It's the quarterback. And he's good at pass rushing. Obviously, he did that, you know, in high school. And then for Penn State, for whatever reason, decided, hey, we're going to have you playing linebacker. Right. I don't know what they were thinking because they had a superstar at the edge. And, you know, I guess maybe, you know, linebacker wasn't that great of a position. So
yeah, and they had NFL caliber defensive linemen. So
that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, but I mean, like the power, the closing speed, the quick twitch, like you just see it, man. I just don't know that I think you're wasting plays playing them at the second level unless you're trying to specifically catch a team in a particular position. Maybe you're trying to get a pick or just something particular. But outside of that, man, nah, man, you got to rush the passer all day long, bro. Easy, man.
Yeah, easy, man. I've grappled with this for several weeks now. I've really grappled with this. I've had arguments and debates about it, and just in terms of this league, and they're great players. They're great Mike linebackers in this league. You know what I'm saying? Bobby Wagner's been doing it for a very long time. Yeah, you have the Devin Whites of the world. You have some young players, Fred Warner, so on and so forth. Yep. You have guys who obviously make plays and impact the game at that second level. But I think one of the things that you and I in particular, you know, were a little concerned about with him coming out of Penn State was the instincts. Yes, the raw physical tools were obviously in place. The aptitude to grow into being an upper tier middle linebacker certainly was there. I don't think there was any question about that. But in terms of just coming right out, there was some growing pains. You know what I'm saying? And you see that on tape. But when he's on that edge, man, he's a man. He's as an effective pass rusher as Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Max Crosby. Those are probably your top edge rushers this season. And Micah Parsons, depending on what advanced stats you're looking at, whatever the case may be, is right among them, if not leading that group. So when I think about this league and it's built for the pass, right? And when it comes to pass rushers, it's not necessarily, you know, you're making a game-changing play every particular snap, right? Whereas at the second level, you know, you got guys who have 150, 160, 180 tackles, right?
Right.
It's those 3 or 4 reps each game that can completely turn it on its head. You know, I can get 15 tackles, right? and we get ran up, a mud hole ran up in us. You know what I'm saying? We give up 150, 200 yards on the ground. You know what I mean? Now, I don't want to suggest that he hasn't been incredibly effective being moved all around. It's just a matter, the question becomes, do I want to give myself more opportunities of him impacting the game as an edge rusher, as opposed to getting more plays out of him, having him bounce around, playing the mic? You know what I'm saying? It's not happening nearly as frequently as it was earlier in the season, because they've had some injuries in terms of DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory, but they had him in the slot, covering the slot as kind of that big nickel defender at one point, moving him around. Just like you said, Legos, not necessarily in terms of our classic thought process as it pertains to Legos, but certainly leveraging all of that athletic talent, all those athletic gifts that he has, and trying to create some opportunities for your defenses and matchups. Man, I'm telling you, let him pick on those tackles. The one thing I will say about him playing on the edge is he doesn't always set a great physical edge. Sometimes against the run, when he's working, unless he's off the ball, right? And that's where we come in. We start kind of questioning, his ability to diagnose. Of course, he makes up a lot of that because of his speed, right? But he struggles to hold up as a physical edge. Does that change your thought process in terms of how you think you should be deployed at all?
Oh, you might want to pick your spots on specific downs in terms of that. But yeah, it's a little bit of a concern. But hey man, he's not the heaviest. You know what I'm saying? And that's something I think you can adjust seasons to come. Don't know you can be able to fix that now at the current moment. So I think you got to pick your spots in terms of those downs, put him in a favorable position in terms of that. Plus, you got Randy Gregory coming back. You got DeMarcus Lawrence. And let me ask you a question: would you kick DeMarcus Lawrence inside on third down and keep Gregory and Parsons on the outside? Because that sounds like something. Because a lot of people were like asking, what would you do with those three? I'm thinking like, is DeMarcus Lawrence not heavy enough? Like that's what I would do: kick him inside immediately.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about third and obvious passing, I'd absolutely do that. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of that old Giants team, the team from the mid 2000s.
NASCAR package or whatever they had.
When they had their NASCAR package, and they would move tuck inside. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And you have Kiwanuka, you have Osi Umenyiora on the edges. You know what I mean? That is the kind of thing that I would be deploying, and I think we'll see more of that as the season progresses. We've seen a smattering of it to this point. But I think that's the way you need to go. You know what I mean? Third and obvious passing down in Dallas, especially if you're going to continue to have him moonlight between edge rusher and at the second level. To your point, if you're picking your spots, then, roll out your own version of the NASCAR package and move DeMarcus Lawrence inside. Have him rush next to, like a Dikizawa or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I like I said, this has been a kind of a burning question for me in terms of, you want to give him as many opportunities as possible to go get the pass. You really do. And, bringing this thing full circle, again, based on our film study of Parsons, my impression was he would be everything that I think the masses thought Jalen Smith would be, right? He was the actual guy that people thought Jalen Smith was going to be.
Then you hit on the nose, bro.
But I got to be honest with you, man. He's exceeded those expectations as well.
Right.
I'm thinking a bigger Devin White with more pass rushing chops, right? No. We're talking an elite pass rusher.
Yeah.
He's already broken DeMarcus Ware's rookie team record. It's just, and like I said, he's moonlighting. This is not his full-time gig.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's incredible.
You could only imagine, bro. You could only imagine what the numbers would look like, how much more devastating it would be, and how much more teams would be concerned in terms of him rushing the passer, man. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I know, was it Dan Quinn, the D coordinator? He looked like he at home, man. Head coach ain't his thing, man.
No.
Let me coach this defense. Let me get into the nitty gritty of this thing. Let's make some adjustments. He just, damn. It's man. Everybody wanted Micah Parsons right now, man.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, like the fact that he got out of that top five. Obviously, hindsight being 2020, but of course, we didn't get to see the full breadth of the pass rushing skill set because of, I guess, the knee. You know, and you can actually, you know what I'm saying, kind of relay that to what Dallas is doing. That there's more of a need at the second level, I guess, from a personnel standpoint, compared to what they have, you know what I'm saying, as far as their pass rush. But he has so much upside. I don't even think I think there's more. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think so too.
Daniel Jeremiah said it not too long ago. He said, I think this could be a 20-sack guy. And I can't dispute that notion. It absolutely looks like that could be the case. You know, he could lead the league in sacks and be a perennial defensive player of the year candidate, you know, particularly as an edge rusher. I expect him to grow as a Mike linebacker, but in this league, man, when you're facing, you know, upper tier quarterback play, you got to be able to affect the passer. And nobody in Dallas, and certainly none of the rookies, are doing it at the level that Micah Parsons is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the only thing that stops him from becoming that 20-sack guy is the snaps that he plays in the middle at linebacker, and, you know, obviously, knocking on wood, injury, obviously. Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's and the thing is this kind of lines things up for Dallas. You know, obviously we're not there yet, but going into the draft, like they kind of, you know what I'm saying? Hey, do we, you know, is there a middle linebacker that could take that spot, and then we could actually slide him down, have him play a little bit more in terms of rushing the passer? I don't know, man.
There's a young man out of Utah. There's a young man out of Utah. Make you think.
Yeah, I know that guy. I think I know a little bit about that guy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it opens some doors because, I mean, Dallas don't have too many holes, you know what I mean? So they can, sure. The defense is probably the way to go in terms of that football team. So, hey, man, listen, just grab a bunch of athletes, line them up, and let them do what they do best. And for Micah Parsons right now, that's him rushing the passer left, right. And the thing about him is when you look at him, you look at TJ Watt, you look at Myles Garrett, you look at Max Crosby, like all of those guys are kind of different in terms of how they rush the passer. When you throw Micah Parsons in there, he's the smallest, I think, of the three. Well,
yep, of the four.
But it's just his ability, that speed, that quickness. Like he's just I don't know, man. Like you're not supposed to be able to do that to the tackles, bro. But you're doing that to the tackles, man. So you know what I'm saying? Because when you're sending that guy who's a little light in the pants, you know, if the tackle gets his hands on you, it's over. For
it's usually over.
That's not necessarily true. You know what I mean?
Right.
So outside of, you know, him defending the edge for the right time. So yeah.
The speed to power, the ability to bend the edge, and underrated hand usage, man.
Yeah,
he keeps them off of his chest.
He knows. Like I got to keep him off, bro, because if I don't,
absolutely,
I might be done like dinner.
Correct.
Yeah, sure.
Correct. So yeah, guys, let us know what you think in terms of the deployment of Micah Parsons. Do you think Dallas should continue to use him the way they're currently using him? Should he play more snaps as a traditional edge rusher? What do you do long term? What do you do long term? Do you draft to free him up to play the edge? I know Randy Gregory. You know, there's a contract situation there. You know, he seems to have cleaned up his act, but could you move on? Could you move on because you have Micah Parsons already in tow? Let us know down in the comment section.